We've only just begun, and I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy summer. Arsenal have got some serious targets on their list, and we're just big enough to make some serious moves. Grand rising to all Arsenal fans everywhere watching this video. Welcome to Rasenal TV, and this is the Rasenal Transfer Centre. We are here for the opening day of the summer transfer window, and Arsenal have a lot to do in this transfer window. As we know, we want to create a dynasty here at Arsenal. The likes of Bouddai, Arteta and Kroenke have all spoken about what we want for the Arsenal going into next season. Now, if there are two words that I want to take into this summer transfer window that should be Arsenal's focus point, it's retention and elevation. Elevation, I should say. Retention and elevation. Retain the goodness that you've got and elevate the squad to a level where we can win our first Champions League and retain our Premier League title. Arsenal want to retain the Premier League title, and as we know, we have big aspirations to win that Champions League now after reaching our first final in over 20 years. Unfortunately, Gabriel and Eze missed their penalties. And as we know, the story is that PSG won their second Champions League in a row. And that's why this transfer window is more important than ever. And in seasons gone by, how many times have we said this transfer window is important? That transfer window is important. Last year's transfer window is important. This transfer window is probably the most important transfer window. Maybe not be the biggest, but the most important transfer window, because as I said, Arsenal want to go on an era of dominance, and that starts now. Arsenal are in a prime position to attract the best players in the world to come to Arsenal as we are Premier League champions. Now, as I said, we're going to be here each and every single day up until the January summer transfer window closes on Monday, the 31st of August. So who could Arsenal sign in between then? A lot of talks have already happened. Already big names are being spoken about. Youth players are being spoken about coming into Arsenal. There is so much going on. So let me just stop the talking. We're already 2 minutes in. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe to Rasenal TV so you can follow the Rasenal Transfer Centre every single day until the window closes. Now in this video, we're going to be talking about the top targets already that have been sounded out, and the ITKs are in their flow. The transfer window is going crazy. Romano's spoken, Ornstein's spoken, the Hand of Arsenal has spoken. Everyone has been speaking, and now I'm delivering this information to you on this beautiful Monday morning. So who is Arsenal's top target? And I think the top target that Arsenal are looking at is Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa, and Fabrizio Romano has said that he is the #1 target for the left winger position. I'm not even going to lie, you lot didn't even see I just bit my tongue and it actually kind of hurts, but we're going to power through. Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. Let me know in the comment section down below right now what you think of this potential deal for Arsenal and Morgan Rogers. Now, England haven't actually kicked off their World Cup yet. They are kicking off their World Cup in a couple of days' time. But as we know, Morgan Rogers is now with the likes of Premier League champions, with the likes of Eze, Declan Rice, Saka, and Madueke being a part of that England camp. So could some agent talk already be going on? Could the Arsenal players already be trying to get into Morgan Rogers, man, and try and join the Premier League champions? Now, would I be happy with a Morgan Rogers player? I mean, let's look at his profile. He can play on the left wing. He can play in the attacking roles, in the 8, in the 10 as well. But as I said a few moments ago, Fabrizio Romano said that Morgan Rogers is the #1 target for the left wing position. Now, already the fee that is being spoken about regarding Morgan Rogers is around £80 million. As we know, there's always an English tax that is added on to these English players as well. I did hear at some point that the fee that we could be looking at to buy Morgan Rogers could be close to the likes of £100 million, and that's not a deal I would do, in my opinion. I think if Arsenal will go to sign Morgan Rogers, you need to sign him for around £70 to £80 million. Now, as we are talking about the left wing, a few days ago, I spoke on a channel that Trossard could be moving away. The likes of Trossard could be moving away to Besiktas, and Martinelli, his future alone is still up in the air because Arsenal really do want to revamp their left-hand side. Now, Morgan Rogers, as we know, is a very powerful runner. Absolutely powerful runner for Aston Villa. He bossed the midfield when we played them at Villa Park in November. Now, it was towards the end of November. No, it was at the beginning of November. No, it was at the beginning of December when we played Aston Villa because we played them twice. in December. Now, would this person absolutely bolster Arsenal on the left-hand side? Absolutely. As I said, he's a powerful runner, great dribbler, can smack the ball into the top corner of the goal. So a type of player that Arsenal need. And shopping in the Premier League is something that I would continue to do. As if I was working for Arsenal, I would continue to shop in the Premier League. And as I said, he would bring up the level of Arsenal's left-hand side. Now, will this deal be happening soon? I don't think so, because a lot of our transfer targets are going to be focusing on the World Cup, and a deal for Morgan Rogers will most likely not progress until England have either been knocked out of the World Cup, or if England do win the World Cup, then it will end right after. Don't know what end. Talks will seriously begin if not Arsenal win the World Cup, if England win the World Cup. I'm tripping over my words. My apologies, people them. But big up yourself. Now, like every single transfer, and I spoke briefly on Bouddai yesterday, if these players have a stellar tournament, their valuation could rise. So even if England were to win a World Cup, for example, and sign a Morgan Rogers, Arsenal were to sign a Morgan Rogers, it could be between 80 and 100 million pounds. So it's not ideal, but Arsenal have laid the necessary groundwork. We approached this player in last year, summer, briefly. We approached Morgan Rogers as well, sounding it out, his details and everything else. But apparently the player does want to leave Aston Villa and move on to bigger things. So could Morgan Rogers be coming into Arsenal? That remains to be seen. But as I said, make sure you like, comment and subscribe to Rasenal TV. And we're going to move on to our next top target. That is Julian Alvarez of Atletico Madrid. Now, this deal was very, very interesting because so much has happened in the last few weeks regarding this deal, and not even necessarily from an Arsenal perspective. As we know, in January, it was sounded out by Sami Mokbel. I want to say, I could be wrong if there were any other journalists that sounded it out before Sami Mokbel. And you're watching this video, my apologies, people then, my apologies, but I'm pretty sure it was sounded out by Sami Mokbel and other journalists as well in that ITK space, that Julian Alvarez is a target for the Arsenal. Now, as we know already, as I said, in the last couple of days, in the last week or so, there was the presidential elections for Real Madrid, and there was a mystery player that Real Madrid were going to bid 150 million euros for. Now, originally, that player was seen as Makalise or someone else, but the player that actually got that bid on their head was Julian Alvarez of Atletico Madrid, swiftly rejected, I should say, by Atletico Madrid. The bid was made by Real Madrid, swiftly rejected, and then Atletico Madrid subsequently pointed, or verbally, figuratively pointed to his 500 million release clause. Now, of course, they're direct rivals, and Atletico Madrid are not going to sell to their direct rivals that are Real Madrid. It's like Tottenham selling to Arsenal. It's just not going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? And again, the fee that's being spoken about around Julian Alvarez are between 150, between 100 million euros and 150 million euros. It's not a deal I would do at that price, in my opinion. I would, if Arsenal were going to sign a Julian Alvarez, you've got to sign him for around 70 to 80 million euros. In my humble opinion. Is he a good player? Yes. Does he add something to our attack? Yes. He's a very different striker to the likes of Kai Havertz and Victor Gyökeres. And I must say as well, if someone like a Julian Alvarez was to come into the club, Arsenal, the likes of one of Gyökeres or Havertz would need to leave. And as of this moment right now, I don't see any of them leaving. I mean, Kai Havertz scored 2 goals against Curacao last night in Germany's World Cup opener. He loves scoring goals for Germany. He scored in a Champions League final. We know how Mikel Arteta feels about Kai Havertz alone. And in my opinion, Victor Gyökeres, he's just turned up. He didn't have a pre-season at Arsenal because of the whole transfer saga that went on with Sporting Lisbon last season. And I do think he's going to be given at least one more season to prove his worth at Arsenal, Victor Gyökeres. And as I said, if I don't see either of them leaving, I don't see Julian Alvarez signing, especially for the fee that's being spoken about with Arsenal and Atletico Madrid. But who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen this World Cup? Who knows what could happen in the next few months? The players' happiness could not go down the drain. It's not Kai Havertz. I don't mean go down the drain, but our players' happiness could deteriorate. Things could change. Now, it's key to say that Julian Alvarez would prefer to stay in Spain. His preference is the likes of Barcelona and everyone else. Like I said, staying in Spain. Would he move to Arsenal? I believe he would move to Arsenal. I don't think he would if Arsenal put the right price, contract offer, made him the main number 9 and this, that and the other. I wouldn't be surprised. He would briefly raise the attacking level. But there are so many things that Arsenal are going to do in an attacking sense, like buying another midfielder, buying a left winger as well. Because if you sort out the wingers on each side, that striker becomes instantly much better and naturally as well. He can knit an attack together, but that's Julian Alvarez, as I said, one of the top targets that are being targeted by Arsenal this summer. And the top target, and I believe their top midfielder target, and if you were here already, we spoke about this briefly yesterday. Ayoub Bouddai of Lille, the star of the show, currently at the World Cup, putting a great performance against Brazil a couple of days ago. And as I said already, in yesterday's video and in the video a few months ago that I did on Declan Rice and finding a replacement for Declan Rice, Ayoub Bouddai is top of the Arsenal list in terms of midfielders. Now, Gary Jacob did say yesterday, after he reported that Arsenal had begun talks with Ayoub Bouddai, he also said that Arsenal want to add one midfielder to the likes of Zubimendi, Rice and Skelly. And I feel like for me personally, the perfect that would fit that perfect player that would fit that role is Ayoub Bouddai. We've been speaking about him for months. He's a fantastic young player in his own right. And the fee that is being spoken about around Ayoub Bouddai is between 60 million and 70 million euros. And again, as I've spoken about these players already, Morgan Rogers and Julian Alvarez, the fee could easily rise. And he's probably started the best out of the three in terms of the World Cup. He started the best against Brazil, man of the match performance, amazing. I can't remember if he did get the man of the match, but he deserved the man of the match nonetheless. Now, Arsenal do have a good relationship with Lille, Gabriel, Pepe as well. We're not trying to force this deal. We're not trying to do anything underhanded. So Arsenal are doing their diligence, obviously, as well. Mauricio Michele, that came in January, has done his scouting work on him. And we know that Berta is a man that talks to players and deals and tries to get things done behind the scenes before we put in a serious formal offer. I think a similar thing could be done with Ayoub Bouddai. I think a lot of the groundwork has been done in recent months from the likes of last year, 2025, early January to this point now. I feel like Arsenal are in the best position possible to sign Ayoub Bouddai, even though we know that there are a lot of other European clubs that are now, some are starting to jump on the bandwagon. I'm hearing loose talks that Liverpool are now in talks and everything else. Obviously, we knew in January that the likes of City, Madrid, Bayern Munich were interested in Ayoub Bouddai. So this is a very sought after young player. But the fact that Arsenal won the Premier League, got to a Champions League final, and now reasserting themselves amongst Europeans' elite clubs, Ayoub Bouddai would see Arsenal as a great destination to further his career. And if you start off with a midfield double pivot, whether it's either Skelly and Rice, and then you got Eze in the 10, and you got the likes of Bouddai and Zubimendi on the bench just in case something mad happens, sounds serious in my opinion. And he would help to raise the level of Arsenal. And again, as I said, the two words we're thinking about, retention and elevation. These three players would elevate Arsenal. There's no doubt about that. But will we get them? That remains to be seen. And my question is, if you're still here at the end of the video, if you are still here, I've got one question for you. Out of these three players, out of the top targets, which player would you most like to come to Arsenal? Ayoub Bouddai, Morgan Rogers, or Julian Alvarez? Do let me know that in the comment section down below. And we will be back tomorrow with another transfer video here on Rasenal TV. The Rasenal Transfer Center is going to be with you here every single day until Monday, the 31st of August. We've only just begun. We've only just begun, people. And I think it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy summer. Arsenal have got some serious targets on their list. And we're just big enough to make some serious moves. This summer might be Arsenal's, and hopefully we do enough to retain that Premier League next season. Subscribe to Rasenal TV, and we'll be back tomorrow morning.